Walker Talker. Walker Talker. Welcome to the 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 Walker Talker. So let's get to talking.
Welcome to the Walker Talkers. What's going on, guys? AA Ron here.
Pete over here, and I'm ready for, well, not walking, but talking. Of the dead.
Well, we got something to show you guys, and maybe we can get a little conversation started up with. So let's start off with our opening clip.
Yeah, please chat it up. You know, Maggie does have the best kill face. Like when she's staring walkers, you know, and she's like showing all her teeth and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
She's always has
had
that, like, perfect, like...
Yeah, she has got that grit to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely does. She gets very fierce when she kills those walkers.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. That scene is, it's simply classic.
It was a great walker scene. I had to show it, guys. So, guys, welcome to the Walker Talkers. We are here to discuss and review episode 3 of season 9 of The Walking Dead.
Warning signs.
Oh, is that the name of the episode?
Yes.
Oh, see, I lose track of the names of the episodes.
Just like the spray paint that says, "This is your final warning. My name is Simon." No, he's the one that had to have done that. That was his group that went there and tortured the Oceansiders before they came Oceansiders. They were using that like rehabilitation center as their as their like home base. And there were some homes in the area too they were living in.
All in all, first quick reactions. I love the episode. I thought it was cool, and the way it ended, it brought some suspense, some much needed suspense to this season. I think.
Sure thing. I mean, the douchebag Justin that was murdered and becomes a walker. That's like that's the opening clip before they go into the show. So like my reaction there is like, oh, okay, he was murdered because I saw the little hole, which there it is in that picture.
Right.
And Rick points out like, there's no bullet. He goes into sheriff mode.
Oh yeah, totally like detective, the interrogation mode.
It's not a bullet hole. It's not a knife. It's more like maybe he looks at Daryl, an arrow.
Right. He's like, it's a little too fine and sharp and perfect. Right. And Daryl's like, well, do you think it's me? And he's like. He's like, I don't think it's you, but the others do.
And Daryl's like, is this what you used to do? He goes, when I had to. But like, come on. That conversation should have been like in season 2 of him like, you dirty cop, you're a dirty man or something. But well, shall I do a quick short synopsis?
Yeah, let's give him a little preview, a little synopsis.
Well, episode 3, warning signs. As much as Michonne wants to create a common law charter, Rick wishes to have playtime with Judith and Michonne time in the hay. He says that Michonne is the future. You know, he points at her like, no. And I know Rick does a lot of that with his loved ones. He gives them more credit than anything, you know.
Right.
But, you know, this is, with us knowing what's going to happen, it just makes it all more important. And, well, tensions rise with the saviors that are left over as Maggie gives in and delivers food. And the search begins in a grid style to find Justin's killer. And after Rick rides in to stop the axe versus pistol melee.
All Gallant-like.
Yes. Powerful conversations are had, and that means like Rick and Daryl we talked about. Rick and Carol had a really serious conversation, and questions on how to deal with the perp, especially by Jerry. He brings it up. Do we do it like a Negan or what's his name? Or Gregory. Like, do we hang him? Do we imprison him? Like, what do we do?
That's going to be the terms used now. They've coined new terms.
Right. So Gabe, though, he learns about Jada's secret, and we're going to talk about the A's and the B's. And well, ultimately, Gabriel sides with Rick, and he becomes basically knocked out and Jadis's junkyard walker bait. And that's pretty much the synopsis for Warning Signs. I mean, we're going to talk about the ending of it. We do know that, you know, we find out who the murderer is and who's behind it all. And, well, I guess we could talk about that in outcomes.
Let's do it. Let's talk about what happened in this episode and kind of how we might change it, or if we were kind of okay with how the writers went.
I think we were okay with Justin getting murdered.
Absolutely.
And his walker body proved he was murdered, and a borderline Savior uprising almost happened, and the outcome was, well, Rick saving the day.
Rick coming in, which, you know...
riding on a horse.
Riding on a horse, all gallant, like I said, kind of on his steed, coming in, the king, so to speak, even more so than Ezekiel, and... you know, putting a stop to it like that, but not before Jersey Boy tried to, you know, stop it with his calming, quelling words, and, well, he got his ass knocked, or at least punched, you know, when Old Boy came in. What's his name again? Mud?
Yeah, Jed, but he was like, my name is Mud. Yeah, he, you know, he's got to go soon, but the fact that they had axes laying around conveniently, and it was almost pistols versus axes. Like,
yeah, right.
I think Daryl said it best. Like, no, it ain't. Like, in other words, like, nothing's gonna go down because we're gonna all shoot you before anything happens.
Right. He even had his
like,
crossbow like aimed at it. Right.
Yeah. The other outcome, though, is basically we find out that the Oceansiders, led by Cindy, are murdering these saviors, and it's a select group that used to be Simon's henchmen.
Right.
When they came to Cindy's house and mocked and tortured and killed her family members, including her little 11-year-old brother.
And then the other Oceansider, the one that they found faking being knocked out in the
Aaron
woods.
called that too. He's like,
cause
something strange about that getting knocked in.
Yeah, the whole, not even just like the actual story of her getting knocked out, mainly like, and I guess I should give the actress or the actor praise for this because they're acting like they weren't a good actor. You know what I'm saying? Like. She woke up like she was like she couldn't know how to like fake that she'd been knocked out, and that she like portrayed that really well. Like I called her out, I was like, oh, she's faking that shit. And well, of course she was. They even found her little poker stick that she was using to stab people in the
Did
head.
you kill her with this?
Yeah, right.
It's like it's the exact murder weapon. Yes.
But apparently they killed her husband. Is why
I was kind of shocked at that. I thought she was definitely into the ladies, but you know maybe that's why all their men were killed and. They became, a little bit more butch in times of, not having showers and whatnot.
Right, of course.
Well,
other outcomes then?
Not really. I mean, I can't think of any other. I mean, I know the very end there was an outcome, and it had to do with Arat and her execution. But I'd like to talk about that at the very end, if we could.
Absolutely, I think we can.
Yes.
It would lead to a great discussion.
Yes.
Other than that. Alrighty, well, let us know what you guys think you would have changed as far as the outcomes go, or if you're kind of fine with how it went, or if you think like I said, you could change it around. So let's go ahead and speaking of you guys, the fans at home, let's go ahead and jump into our fan choice number 1 of this week. And well, of course, we need somebody down here to help us out. So real quick, let me make sure I got everything off the screen and we can bring him into the fray. Jackson! There you go, Jackson. Well, Jackson, coming here this week to help us out and help us figure out what the fans thought of this particular situation. Pete, would you let them know?
This fan's choice is about what do you do now at this point after episode 3 with the sanctuary. The building itself, the people that live in it, even the people that were camped out to help build the bridge. Well, there's 3 choices. One is kill them all. Just take them all out. And if there's any good ones and some families or whatever, send them on their way to fend for themselves. That's it. Just do away with them. Second thing is well, burn and divide. Like literally divide them up. Some go to Alexandria, some go to Hilltop. The rest are sent off to the kingdom or given their choice to just go on their own and not come back or else. And then the other one would be to rebuild and separate. Like rebuild the place, separate everyone, maybe bring them back together. It can be now a rebuilt place for storage, for housing things like seeds and whatever, that kind of thing. Only it's now a rebuilt headquarters or whatever.
Right. So let us know what you guys think. You should do. We should do. Our group, Rick's group, should do with the sanctuary. Now, since things with the Saviors are on the edge, on the brink of collapse, Maggie and Daryl kind of okay with everything. Something's gonna be happening to the Sanctuary and Saviors here soon. So, what do you guys think? Well, let's see what fan choice number
What
one
you got
is.
in your chest cavity there, sir? Oh.
That rib cage is meant to Jackson. I know, right? I was keeping mine.
Well, do they rebuild? Do they kill them all? Fans' choice. Burn and divide. Burn it all down.
I say that's the best choice. I mean, think about it. The factory, you can't really grow much. Yeah, it could be used as storage. Yeah, it could be used as a base. But ultimately, that ends up just getting in the way and adding more work to be done where...
I agree. Burn it from the inside out. There's only a few apartments in the upper level. Everything else is just damaged goods. They can't grow anything. They can't do anything else. Just burn it up, abandon it, so no one can go there and use it for anything ever.
Right. Divide the families up accordingly,
Yes.
and anybody else who's left who's more the brute savior type, divide them up equally based on what they're able to do and how they work. And if there's that absolutely to the point of not be able to control, well, just get rid of them the permanent way. You know what I'm saying?
I say there might be another hang.
Hey, what's going on, Platinum Productions? Welcome to the Walker Talkers.
Welcome indeed.
Yeah, just here reviewing episode 3 of season 9 before the new episode tonight.
Before watching episode 4, and then eventually Rick's last episode 5.
So what would you do, Platinum Productions? Would you burn the sanctuary down and divide the resources and families and humans who are there? Would you go ahead and just destroy everything, including everybody who lives there as Rick's group? Or would you end up just using the place as like storage or like as an extra base? Not necessarily for living, but for defensive purposes.
Burn and divide, rebuild, kill them all.
What would you do there, Platinum Productions? But as we move on here from our Fans' Choice 1, let me go ahead and pop that down there. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of the important characters this episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk a little bit about Rick, about Anne, who's also known as Jadis, and a little bit about Maggie and Daryl, combined and separate. But first, might as well talk about Rick. Well, Rick, he shows Michonne her worth as Alexandria's protector and the steady voice of reason as she creates this common law charter. Rick is very sentimental, by the way, and affected by everything, and he's really affectionate, making love to Michonne and mentioning the future. Rick also goes into, he rides in and saves the day during the Savior Upheaval melee, and he also is ending things the way they should, with powerful scenes, like talking about not telling Daryl, maybe you should make big decisions like that in the future for other people and yourself. You might surprise yourself. Making big decisions like maybe not killing a guy that left your brother on a roof to die, aka episode 3 of season 1. Right? I mean, that was pretty powerful right there.
Well, speaking of Rick real quick, Platinum Productions says his choice, or their choice for our fans' choice would be the last option to just, he says, be honest. He just say goodbye to them all and go back to kind of season 1 style, small group. Says good thing, or they say good thing they're not Rick.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, honestly, we might kind of lean that way too.
Daryl even said it to Rick. He said, like, you know what? That small group we had going early on, up until like Alexandria,
right?
Like that's how I know how to survive. That's what works. It's the only thing that works. And Rick agreed. Like, yep, like we were one hard ass group. You
Right.
know?
Absolutely, man.
And that's what a zombie movie series should be. It should be about those small groups that are, working
Right.
together with, not much and against all odds kind of thing.
And I say eventually they want to look for more civilization, but folks who are like-minded in that aspect, not ones who are so
It's not so.
clashing.
It was exciting when Carl and Rick were both alive and healthy about where the future is taking it,
Right.
how close to the comic it's going to be, all that stuff. Well, now that Carl's gone and we know Rick's going to be gone in a couple episodes, I kind of like the Platinum Productions idea of having that small group.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Rick's kind of to the point now where he's that moral compass right now, and you guys know what happens to those characters.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up because Rick strolls out with Carol, talks reason over current matter, and to build life and not to take it because the world belongs to the dead now. So it's us or the dead, and he's all of a sudden a moral compass, and we know what happens to them, but he's passing on to Carol. And Carol's obviously going to be one of the main new leaders for a long time because she signed a big contract on the show.
Yeah, Boss
recently.
Lady, as spoken by Mud. Hey, Platinum Productions, we appreciate the subscription, man. Thank you so much, and we appreciate that you appreciate us. So
Thank you so much.
we'll be here every Sunday to discuss The Walking Dead, and there's plenty more content over here on the Pan Nerdia channel as well. I also stream over on Twitch too, so check that out sometime.
Twitch us for sure.
I
I got one more thing on Rick. Rick and Carol
good.
get jumped, by the way, after that talk by Jed himself. My name is Mud, and Axeman DJ is his name. About gun protection. This is just about gun. We want protection. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Carol and Rick play those bitches, but still help them out in the end. Like because every life matters. Like well, here we go.
They're pretty good at.
I think they did that on purpose because at the end of the episode, the exact opposite happens. There's two main leaders, and they let something happen. We're going to get to that shortly.
Yes, it's quite the interesting dichotomy, I would say.
I said we jump over to Jadis before we get to Maggie and Daryl because I think Maggie and Daryl's the real meat.
Meat and potatoes this episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Jadis because she's important, right? She's got a link.
Big secret that is that link. Yes.
Yeah, that link that's possibly the answer to what a lot of us have been asking. And that is the
other civilizations.
Right. Particularly,
is there a thriving one that's totally protected?
Maybe who's got some Commonwealth?
Oh yes. Little shout out to the comic book about Commonwealth, and there was one other little thing. There was they had a windmill, and it said like Commonwealth, like whatever, like the company or whatever, and it was like I guess that's
definitely put those Easter eggs out there.
Little Easter egg there. Yeah.
So Jadis.
So yeah, Jadis, also known as Anne. Well, she definitely, goes on the lam. Anne goes on the lam. She's fearing she lost Rick's trust, and that was the main thing. And there was Morgan that she knew was cool, and he's gone.
Right.
There's Rick, who's now suspicious of everyone, including her. So she's like, uh-oh. And then all that's left is Gabe. Well, speaking of Gabe, he did the dirty deed.
He did indeed.
With his probably priest collar on, and well, now him and Jadis seem to be an item, but since she took off and Rick put him in charge to track her down, basically what happens is she's followed by Gabriel. She re-enters her dump and interacts with this fancy Bluetooth-style walkie-talkie
that she gets out of her little safe.
Like Aaron said, the Commonwealth, or is it just a helicopter group that is all about people trading? And the people trading is fascinating because Gabriel overhears the whole conversation. They're like, do you have an A or a B?
Yeah, right.
For a pickup deal, because the deal's already done. He goes, how about me? I just want to go. Like, everyone's wiped out. And he's like, well, she's like, what will it take for you to pick me up so I can come and live in this society? Right. He's like, an A. It's like, ooh, what the fuck is an A?
What is an A? Right, exactly.
But obviously, it's a type of person. Like, is it A-type personality? Is that what that means? Or is it just A means like they are worth something to that specific society that does the trading? Or what? But she tells Gabe, before she knocks him out and he becomes her walker bait art, she says, I always thought you were a B.
And then she knocks him out, so he apparently is an A now to her. Real quick, Platinum Production says, that Jed man, Mr. Mudd, he better not kill Rick. I'll cry. Got my own horror movie being made as a filmmaker myself. Wow, that's awesome. And as a fan of horror, having a huge The Walking Dead fan since the start. That's amazing, man. keep working on that. Absolutely. If you got that, we love horror here.
I wouldn't mind if you let us know now, and even next week before Rick's last episode, exactly what your whole plot line is. Don't give away your story, but like, what's your setting like? Is it in the U.S.? Is it back in time? Is it in the future? Is it now? Like,
yeah, we're definitely curious. We're
very curious.
Yeah. We love all things art, especially stuff like drama and action.
We geek out on the drama, the action, the video games,
the thrillers, everything, man.
All this great CG mixed with practical special effects. We love it all, and I'm sure you do too, since you've been following The Walking Dead since the beginning.
And we have our 2 cents on what will happen to Rick here at the end of this episode with our final blast. But continuing on with our characters.
Oh yeah, Maggie and Daryl. Pardon me for bouncing around a little bit, but it starts off as far as with Maggie's. My name is Mud, aka Jed, threatens Maggie's food delivery, and that right there showed that she's still the mama bear. She's the widow.
Pretty much.
She's the one in charge. She's not to be messed with. The other saviors that were there made sure that Jed backed off.
Right.
I mean, she did come bearing fruit, and boy, did he go crazy with the tomato. And that was a joke, kind of. It was kind of like lame because you can't take him so seriously after his one-liners and the fact that, well, he's not a Negan. He's not a captain.
Exactly. You can continue. I apologize.
Oh, sure.
Type in here.
So let's see here. Maggie and the Oceansiders, we find out that Cindy is the name of the main Oceanside girl. And they're out, I think Arat, the black girl with the blonde short hair.
Yeah, the short hair.
She's out there too. Rick and Daryl, etc. They're all grid searching for the killer of that douchebag Justin, right?
Right.
And they're looking for answers, but there's something fishy about this knocked out Oceansider that's pictured. And after an old school Walker house slaughtering that we saw in that first clip at the beginning of our show today, featuring Maggie, the evidence of Arat missing turns up, and the gang has a powwow about it all and how to deal with the perp. And as Jerry says, how do we deal with the perp if it's discovered? Is it a Gregory or is it a Negan? I don't know. And it made everyone think and pause, that's for sure. And also, Maggie and Daryl, they traced the murder weapon to the recovery center that seems like it was the former haven for the pre-Oceanside group, like their settlement, because they lived in that area, but they found that building. Maggie even said that's what I would do. If I lived around here and I found this building, I'd make this the new place.
Right.
But around back was a house and Arat, the girl, about to get murdered for her past sins that included terrorizing and murdering Oceanside Cindy's family members in their home and on their front doorstep. And that's where she was enacting revenge, right? Where her brother was tortured at 11 years old, laughed at, and murdered. That's where that all went down.
So it kind of came full circle with it.
It did come full circle with it, and it all came down to that closing scene. And I guess we could talk about that now, or we could talk about that after our next. Oh, you know what? I'll talk about that last scene in our appreciations. How's that?
Okay, yeah, we'll be moving on to that. I think here next anyway. So how perfect, right? That cool with you?
Oh yeah, let's go right into.
All right. Well, before that, real quick, Platinum Productions says, "Well, thank you. Rick and Daryl will always be brothers, but they need to make up already." Well, we hope so too, but as we'll see here shortly with our preview,
yes,
things are still pretty tense with them.
I'm going to get pretty deep in that after we watch the preview, because I have, it's not a bold prediction, but I really do think that everything that's said by Daryl to other people about Rick, they're coming back with, well, actually, it is the right way. We're all pissed. Even Maggie herself says Rick's decisions are all actually best for baby Herschel.
Yeah. She
doesn't agree with him, but all in all, it's all good for baby Herschel and the next generation to survive and flourish. But, what it comes down to is once she hung Gregory and Cindy took cue to that with her Oceansiders and they started making the wrongs right in their mind, it triggered a whole new ball game where Daryl's like, forget Jesus. I'll be your new next right-hand man, Maggie. Let's go take care of business.
Right, and they for sure did here at the end of the episode.
Yes.
And, well, you know what? That's going to be our first appreciation of the night.
Absolutely.
Is just the way they ended that. I mean, this is what this show needs. It needs that harsh contrast.
And for it to be a closing scene.
Closing, yeah. Something that
was
really
nice.
pulls you down with it. Because you're at the end, you're like, wait, really? Whoa. Okay, yeah. We kind of think we would have let that happen, too. Okay.
So my main appreciation would be Maggie and Cindy Walker blasting in Cindy's old hood, which you saw in that first clip.
Walker blasting.
But
in the old
also,
hood.
my second and other main one would be the closing scene itself, where Maggie's hanging of Gregory was Cindy's vindication to kill off the last of Simon's wing, at least, of the Saviors of the Negan group. Because that was the group that tortured her family and friends and killed them and all that, and they went off running and hiding. And, well, Daryl and Maggie let Arat get finished off in a walk-off scene, I call it. Like, not a walk-off home run, but like, you know, as they're walking off, the camera shows between Daryl and Maggie in the background, Arat just get plugged with the spear thing that's like an arrow on a... That's what they were using to kill at least Justin with, right?
Right. They're walking away from it's like a metaphorical explosion behind them.
It delivered a big time, that was a big time scene, and it followed up with Maggie telling Daryl, time to see Negan.
And, you know what? That's going to be pretty interesting.
She stayed away from Alexandria all this year and a half or longer, and now she's ready to pay a visit.
She needs to get some answers. And you know what? I'd say my biggest appreciation for this episode is the tension that they brought into it. We needed some tension to build this season. Yeah, it's a horror action show, so it's gonna have it, you know, little bits here and there, but nothing real heavy yet. And this, I think, is that first real kind of heavy.
All the sentimental stuff. I mean, here in this picture here, like Rick is talking to her about, look at you, look at what you've done, look what you're going to do. And then he plays with Judith. They play hide and go seek. They're playing with Sadiq outside. Before this is all happening before they get the message that Justin guy got murdered. Now we got to deal with that. But like all these sentimental scenes, the talk with Carol,
right?
The talk with Daryl,
right? All
of it is like building up to this moment where we're gonna lose Rick Grimes, and it's gonna feel like, one, we're robbed of everything we've ever hoped for in the future in the Walking Dead world, and two, why in episode 5? We'll get there later, but I mean, still, at least like drag it out to episode 8, so we're like, all right, he's dead. It's now the holidays. We'll put it off until winter's over or whatever.
We got a lot to say in our final blast this episode, guys. But before we get to that, and before we get to our fans' choice too, let's go ahead and jump into our preview of the next episode. That way, we can not only discuss what we think will happen, but also what you guys think will happen on next week's episode. So let's go ahead and jump into our preview. Let me get that brought up real quick, guys.
Hey, and feel free to watch our past episodes of The Walker Talkers.
Like we talked about.
Give us likes there. You might find it fun to watch the shows the bridge will hold. Watch us.
There's got to be a way.
So there seems to be a problem with the water, flood water taking out the bridge. So they're not too sure if it's gonna last. But here's that scene I was mentioning. Rick and Daryl are still got some things to work out. And it seems somebody's got something to work out with Negan too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it looks like Jed and DJ and that Mohawk woman have guns, and they're jumping Carol and Jerry there at the camp.
Make things right.
And obviously Carol and Jerry don't have backup. It's like they're on their own.
Right.
So that's one thing. Then Rick and Daryl, they take a ride, probably have their last scene together. The argument might leave Rick injured and or stranded, and that's my thing, is like, is this proof here, this scene, that like, they have a little tussle about whether he can stay alive, and next thing you know, he's just like, nope, I can't let it happen, Rick, and he leaves him in the ditch and he rides off. Well, leaving Rick by himself stranded usually means Rick survives. He just does.
Right.
But maybe something happened on that tumble or that little fight where he's injured. It takes him longer to get around. Next thing you know, and Daryl has to basically live with that cross.
Oh man, that's gonna be a rough one.
Or no, wait, as they said in Better Call Saul, well, I guess that's your cross to bear.
Right. So as far as predictions goes, I'll go ahead and throw mine out there real quick. I think after Rick and Daryl's fight, I think Rick will possibly be severely hurt. Not anywhere near death, but enough to where he's unable to move for the time being. And Daryl's going to kind of leave him there to somewhat think about what he's done. And episode 4 is live. Thank you. Sorry, I can't read it. Ivan. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to be there in just a moment. We just have to do our Fans' Choice and our Final Blast.
Fans' Choice and Final Blast. So it's yeah. So yeah.
That was a good preview.
Yeah, it's a pretty good preview. I think Daryl and Rick, they'll have their tiff. Like I said, Rick will be left. As far as what Maggie's gonna do, I don't know. What do you think Maggie's gonna do?
I don't know. Right now, she's not helping with the whole bridge being built thing. The bridge needs a new backup plan for its weak cofferdam, as Eugene calls it, the cofferdam, and that's an actual thing. You can look it up, but we're running low on time.
So who do you think? Let me ask you, Pete, real quick, and then I'll ask you guys. Who do you think's going next episode? Or this episode tonight, episode 4. Who do you think?
The biggest shocker would be like a Maggie type character dying, but I don't see that happening in episode 4. No way.
No way. I think if anything, Mud's gonna die.
My name is Mud.
I think Mud.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, I hated that. By the way, guys, I hated that tomato scene, but that's all I'll say about it. I think Jed. If anybody, Jed's gonna die.
There's always Cindy or her girls that promotion side. Maybe someone's gonna enact revenge because we see in the preview that those 3 bad people that were former saviors, they had guns, right? So maybe somewhere along the way, the revenge goes back and forth.
Or what about Gabriel? He seems like he's in somewhat of a rut this episode.
He's in walker bait mode.
Yeah, so he might go too. So what do you guys think? Who do you guys think will perish in episode 4, season 9 of The Walking Dead? Alrighty, guys, and that leaves us with our. Let's see, Aaron will be Rick after he leaves because how similar he looks in the comic. Aaron's arm is gone, comic, and his beard the same. Rick. Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
That's a very good
Rick was
observation.
missing a hand in the comic book from early on, and now we've got a definite Rick. He's the #1 supporter of Rick, Rick's ways, Rick's decisions, everything Rick. He is the #1 fan of him, and he is one tough SOB, Aaron is. So that is a great prediction. It's kind of bold because he's not one of the top, 4 or 5 personalities on the show. But that's a very good one.
I would say if anybody should replace Rick as leader, that would be a very good choice.
I'd be cool with it.
Very, very good choice. That is awesome. Thanks for the email too, Platinum Productions. Appreciate it. And as far as doing a post episode. We usually don't do post episodes because we watch the episode and then we kind of get things ready for next week. I have a lot going on with the channel, not only here on YouTube but also Twitch, doing paintings from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Z, playing video games, all sorts of stuff, doing other reviews.
Red Dead Redemption.
Currently Red Dead Redemption 2. And we usually don't do post videos. Sometimes we'll do kind of live reactions on Twitch while we're watching the episode. Unfortunately, tonight we won't be doing that. But we usually just do our reviews right before the new episode starts. That way you guys can come hang out, kind of pregame with us, get some discussions going. We'll give you guys our shot of what happened with last week's episode and kind of tell you guys what we think is going to happen on tonight's episode. And that leads us, of course, to our final blast. Our final little discussion of the night where we kind of give our last 2 cents on what's to come. And, well, after episode 4, we heard a little bit of inside news, which is not really inside anymore. It's kind of out there in the open, that episode 5 will, in fact, be Mr. Grimes' last episode. Whether that means he's perished and dead for good, whether that means he rides off into the sunset, or something that we can't even fathom, his last episode of The Walking Dead is episode 5 of season 9. And, it's going to leave a big hole, and we don't know if we really like the fact that it's ending, his whole journey's ending on episode 5. At least we did extend it to the mid-season.
We did speak of, he's going to go in the first half
Thanks
of the
for the
season.
sub!
We were definitely thinking maybe we should give up. Rick dies, the show's dead, forget it. But we're gonna hold through and steady for the rest of season 9. We hope other big characters go down. We hope Negan suffers big time physically. But we do know that Carol, Daryl, those characters re-signed big contracts. They're going to be there. They're going to be leaders. They're going to be carrying the show on their backs. And we do know that Maggie, her character, is not signed on for next year, so she's going to go somehow in some way in one of the episodes, one of the 16 episodes in this season. And then Michonne, movie star Michonne.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mrs. Marvel.
Yeah, Denai. She will have to make a big choice after this season because she's also does not have a contract for next season. But as far as my final blast is concerned, I talked about Rick talking to Carol and Daryl. I talked about the sentimental time that he had with his daughter Judith, or well, Shane's daughter, but you know.
There was cool scenes. I like that
But
scene.
Rick's Sadiq, Michonne, Judith, and Rick, they play hide and go seek. More to hurt about. That's what that was. This scene comes to a close with them finding out bad news, you know, and it's kind of like everything. Rick's reading his daughter a book,
Right.
and it's definitely an adult book.
Right.
And it's about survival and thriving after, you know, getting over all these odds and all this and that. But, like, it's just heartbreaking. So my final blast is all these scenes with Rick interacting with people, all the one-on-ones. It's heartbreaking, but we have to watch now. We're behind a little bit. We're going to jump right in. We're going to enjoy the enjoyment. And then next week is going to be probably our hardest review, or our second hardest review.
Yeah, well, we'll be reviewing episode 4 next week,
Right.
but then when we get to the next one after that, yeah, it's going to be
But
pretty
we
rough.
might see how he gets wounded or bit or something today.
You're right. We
don't
might.
know. We might.
So, hang in there, guys. Thanks for joining us. We always appreciate it. Thank you, Platinum. Thank you, Ivan. We appreciate the subs. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week for, of course, the Walker Talkers.
Remember, when you're with the Walker Talkers, it's all about the dead.
Have a good night, guys.
I love you, Rick.
You're my boy, Rick.
Coral! Coral, come back!